Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. Great to have you here. I am in Colorado, so the VinFast road trip has concluded successfully. I made it from Tennessee to Colorado, and today I'm going to update you on everything that happened in the second leg. If you checked in with the first update, go ahead and do that. I made it to Wichita, Kansas, and then the next day I would be taking the VinFast into the service center and continuing on and see how far I got. I ended up getting all the way to Denver. Let's plug in for all the details, tell you some stories and facts and figures. This episode is made possible by the support we get from Fort Collins Kia. If you are in the market for any electric Kia, not only do they never add market adjustments, they will deliver your car to you anywhere in the 48 contiguous states for out-of-spec viewers. More information in the link in the show notes. Okay. So like I said last time, you caught me in Wichita, and I was updating you from the hotel room. The next morning, we woke up and we immediately took the VinFast to the service center, which was branded as this carstore.usa.com. And Dan, the guy who I had been talking to there, I was like, I'm coming in, I'm on a road trip, this is what's happening. He called me like right before I arrived. He was like, by the way, you'll see carstore.usa.com, you're in the right place. But I had already looked at the map, so I did know that that was true. And when I showed up, there were VinFast in the parking lot, but also a lot of different cars. And I think I counted like maybe 10 VinFasts out there, and I went in and everything is VinFast branded on the inside. So what I ended up learning about why this is carstore.usa.com and a VinFast dealership from Dan is that the owners are two brothers and they're Vietnamese. So I don't know who was approached first, if they had any connections to VinFast, because VinFast is a Vietnamese company, or if they made the connection, whatever it is, they are now a VinFast dealership. So it will be totally rebranded as VinFast dealership going forward. Everyone in there was wearing like VinFast shirts and the logos were up on the walls. But yeah, so that's the story there. And basically they told me, yeah, this could take 3 to 5 hours. It all depends on the Wi-Fi speeds, but we are going to update your vehicle. And as you can see here, if you're tuning in on YouTube, you can see the video. There is Spring Roll, the green VF8 Eco that I have on the left. And then on the right is this orange one that has the update that I got to take out as my loaner all day exploring Wichita, Kansas. And I definitely had time to kill. It eventually ended up taking 5 hours about 3 hours to download the software update and then 2 hours to install it. I showed up at the 5-hour mark just coincidentally after exploring Wichita, and it was ready for me to pick it up, which was nice, but also kind of crazy that it takes that long. And it seems like they maybe need to update their Wi-Fi. But I did get to explore Kansas, and some of you were interested in, what I was going to do while I was there. So I took the loaner and immediately went to a suggested local coffee shop called Coffee Days, where I got some coffee and the aviation museum in Wichita, which I didn't really know the background with aviation in Wichita, but there definitely is one. And there's a whole inside museum in this old, the oldest airport in Wichita. But there's also all these planes out on the property on the ground. So Rafiki and I were able to walk around and spend just time outside. We spent probably an hour or so there, probably an hour at the coffee shop. Of course, drove around, kind of checked out places a little bit. And then I was getting hungry. So I decided to find a sandwich shop, and someone was like, please tell us where you get your food and what you eat. So I'm no foodie, but I can show you what I got. I went to Artichokes Sandwich Shop. I think that's what it's called. And I got the famous number 8 sandwich that you can see here. It's like a turkey sandwich. It was really good. The bartender was really nice. I got some broccoli slaw, and it's in this like old Irish pub as well. So that was cool. Got some insight into Wichita. And then I was like, okay, time for me to go back and see what they are doing at the service center. Walk in, go and try to find everyone to figure out what's going on. And I see the VinFast back there, and it was done updating. So I ended up asking a couple questions, got the info about how long it took to download it and then install it, and the goals, which with the software update, and it was definitely to fix a lot of those bugs. 100% it has fixed a lot of those bugs. The thing is that it's hard if you have a VinFast to go and get it updated because there's limited service centers in America. They're kind of along the Smile Coast, along the, coasts of the US, and in Wichita, Kansas, of course. So if you're not conveniently located, you do have to make a trip out of it, and it could take 5 hours. So, are you going to kill 5 hours? Are you going to drop it off and take a loaner and go explore or stay the night? Are they going to cover your hotel expenses? Probably not. So it's definitely up to you to figure out how much it's worth it to you. I would recommend it. I have talked nonstop about all the glitchy things about the VinFast. That's really something that's super noticeable, is that there's lots of alerts and sensors and faults and errors come up and then they go away, or they come up and they go away. And it was a little bit annoying, but it was also like, okay, this is glitchy. The rest of the drive did really not have any of that glitchy stuff. So it's very, very clear that that software update improves that. The pet mode issue that I was having, where it would just kind of quit and turn off, fixed. That was really new, so I'm not so sure about that, why it came on, but it didn't happen again after the software update. Also, when you charge, you can now see the energy that is coming in. So you can see the kilowatt measurement that is read at the connector, at the cable level, and then also what the battery is actually receiving, which there is a difference between, there's a bit of energy efficiency, a bit of loss that happens as that travels into the VinFast. And that was cool. More information, the better. The next update, VinFast, can we please have the blinkers in the, not that they're listening, I don't know, maybe y'all are listening, in the heads-up display. The blinkers are a little bit different for me. The stock doesn't stay up if you've turned it right or turned it left, and they're not very loud. And you have to look at the center console to see if the blinkers are on. So sometimes I look like an old lady driving around with my blinker on, because it's a bit specific too with how you turn them off and on. So if I was able to look at the heads-up display and see that I have my blinkers on, then I could maybe be less confusing to the people around me. That's one request. Otherwise, I think the software update was worth it so far. And maybe on my way back through Wichita, software update 13 will be available, because I'm on 12, and I could spend another 5 hours there. We will see. I think it would be a good idea, though, to continue to get a software update if I can, or if I plan to go on any other road trips, any other service centers, then I'll go to those along the way and just kind of hold out until then. Different ideas. We are not sure. Finally, I left Wichita after going to a nearby Electrify America station and charging just for a little bit. I had a decent charge, but they didn't charge the VinFast while it was updating. I'm not really sure why that happened, or why that wouldn't happen. Maybe the VinFast would stop the charging if it was turning on and off, and it just wouldn't work. But I think it would be smart of them that if they have an electric vehicle at their center, that they should be charging it if it's sitting there, getting an update for 5 hours. But I didn't ask exactly why not. The software update is a one-on-one process. I asked the guy, so if all the VinFasts need an update on the lot, can you just go one by one, like update, and then, they would waterfall the updating like that? He's like, no, it's a more one-on-one process. You just kind of want to stick around and make sure no errors come up. So that seems a pretty intensive 5-hour stint of updating the EV that is also dependent on Wi-Fi. So definitely need faster Wi-Fi, I would say, unless 5 hours is the goal. And I wouldn't say that it is. It seems a bit long. Seems like it could be shorter. And they said that they're working on over-the-air updates, but they don't have that right now. They're not very confident in the capability, VinFast that is, of the over-the-air updates. They don't want anything to go wrong. Even Rivian had an over-the-air update that bricked a lot of Rivians, but then they were able to fix it. So there is risk involved with over-the-air updates, but with I think, if more and more people, if they have another crazy lease deal and more people take on a VinFast into their life, they're going to have to make it so that you don't have to drive anywhere to get an update, a software update on their vehicle, but also that it doesn't take 5 hours at someone's home. Right? I'm not really sure. How long do over-the-air updates typically take for y'all who get them at home? Let me know. Okay, left Wichita, and I thought, okay, can I make it to Salina? Definitely. And then can I make it to Hays, Kansas? I actually might not have to stop in Salina, is kind of what I was thinking. And that was true. So I'm going to pull up the map of the route that I took from Wichita to Colorado. And as you can see here, I go through Salina. So I knew that if I needed to stop in Salina, if something weird happened with my efficiency and my charge, I could. But I decided to continue through to Hays, Kansas. I think this is Hays, Kansas. So when I stopped in Hays, Kansas, this was a long stop. I stayed there for over an hour. So I'll tell you why. Okay, don't blame me. I got there and there was one station in use. It looked like one was unusable. So one out of the four was inoperable. And then a family had pulled up in their Nissan Aria and they had tried to plug into a station that was already in use, but these were not dynamic simultaneous charging. So they had to move to another stall. They got it charging. It was a mom, dad, and daughter. And then mom went inside to Walmart and then it stopped. And the daughter and the dad didn't have the app on their phone. So I was trying to help them start the charge with Electrify America station and definitely emphasize that you should download the apps. They usually use ChargePoint apparently, but it was their first EV road trip. So they were experiencing the ups and downs of that with differing perspectives and kind of the frustrations of trying something new that can be a little bit hard at first and maybe confusing. It's a different way of driving and road tripping. So just talked to them, gave them some advice about how I road trip, and then they moved to another stall. It turns out that stall actually was not going to start a charge for them after it faulted. So they moved to the other one and got a decent charge. And then I went into Walmart after talking with them for a bit, walking Rafiki around. And when I came back out, they were gone, but there was a woman and this young boy standing around the VinFast. And I had left Rafiki in there with pet mode on that was now working. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe they think Rafiki shouldn't be in the car, but like it says pet mode. So I walk up and they're like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, no problem. What's going on? Well, the kid is a super fan of cars and he had recognized that this was a VinFast. He was a young kid and his grandma was like, I didn't know, like, I've never seen this car before. How rare is it? And I was like, yeah, it's a pretty rare EV. So the kid had a lot of fun freaking out about the VinFast, taking some photos with it, learning everything that I could tell him about it. And they were really, really sweet. And then the kid gasps and points over our shoulders, and there comes a Fisker Ocean to the same charging station. So this kid was seeing kind of two of the very, very rare EVs that come along on the road. And apparently they drive around looking for cool cars. And I told them about like Cars and Coffee, maybe they can find them. But the grandma was saying that, in Kansas, you don't see a ton of cool cars. And this kid, they stopped by the Walmart EV charging station and saw two rare EVs. So talk to that Fisker owner as well. He's not planning on selling it. Well, I don't know. I guess he really enjoys the car. He was like, well-made car, not well-run company, which I think is echoed amongst some other Fisker owners. And we got to check out that cool car. Some of y'all really like how that looks. I don't really love the matte color, but really cool to meet him and talk to him. And everyone was really kind. And so that was a long stop. It was a very social stop. From there, I took off and I drove another, about 100 miles. I think that first one was 181 miles to the Hays, Kansas charge stop. I got there at 10% and I charged up to 85. And then when I got to the next stop in Colby, Kansas, my stations to charge, my options were becoming slimmer and slimmer. So I definitely took my opportunities where I could find them. So I knew that I could get on into Denver without worrying. I arrived in Colby, Kansas at 33% state of charge. I know, not a super low state of charge. I'm sorry. And I also stayed there for about 37 minutes. And before carrying on my way, I walked the dog. The sun was setting. There were cornfields. It was a nice, slow stop. And then I went into Walmart and bought some really cute keychains that I have given my friends here in Colorado. When I left there, it was, like I said, the sun was setting. I left at about 89%. I guess I really charged up at that point because along the way, there were just some charge point options and one Electrify America station at a diner. So this was kind of in the middle of the nowhere and I was going to get there late. So I knew the diner wasn't going to be open and it has maybe a 6.4 on PlugShare rating. So I wasn't confident that this was going to be a great stop. Nonetheless, it was a fine stop. I got there at 34% state of charge. I charged there enough that I knew I could get into Denver. I spent about 34 minutes there. And at that point, I was quite tired. So I took a nap that whole time. And then Rafiki and I left at 88% state of charge, and we finally got into where I'm staying in Denver at 28% state of charge, traveling nearly 100. Let's see, how many miles did I go? 131 miles. So that was a long day, as you can see here. It was about at least 7 hours driving plus, a couple of hours charging. And that was a long day because it didn't get started until about 2 p.m. anyways. So I got in around midnight here. Not sure if I would do that again. Maybe I would stop. It would be easier if I had someone along with me, or like I said, if Rafiki would get his driver's license. But we must wait. Overall, the road trip was great. The charging was extremely successful. People were really nice at the charging stops. It was social, it was fun, and I had a fun time documenting it. So there will be an out-of-spec motoring trip or video, and then also a reviews video about the experience, all about the dealership and stuff. So that will be fun. And I will update you on that. Things that I would do different is that I even brought a notebook so I could note all this stuff down, like at a charging stop. And I'll do this on the way back, but instead I just took photos. So now I have to go back through the photos and videos and get all those stats. So I'm going to use the notebook next time. And I would recommend everyone keeping a notebook in their console so that they can take notes if they're curious about their EV road trip. Like, what did I arrive at? How much did I charge? What was I charged along the way? Speaking of, I did measure the average accuracy of the VinFast range estimator, about 82% accurate. And then the time I spent charging was about 396 minutes, which is about 16% of the 40 hours that I spent traveling, not necessarily driving, but sleeping, traveling, sitting around Wichita. That's a pretty decent range. And then on average, I also spent 44 cents per kilowatt hour charging. The most expensive charging session I had was $39, and the least expensive was almost $10. Is there anything else you want to know? The trip was in total 1,120 miles, 1,120 miles. And yeah, those are all my real big facts and figures. I'll do it again opposite. I don't know if I'll make another out-of-spec motoring video. It depends on how well this one goes. Maybe if someone joins me. I'm not sure how good I am at documenting all of my own stuff while I'm driving. It's kind of like a couple different jobs to keep your mind on the road and everything like that. The VinFast, again, the highway driver's assistance is amazing. It really changes how much work you have to do as a driver. Of course, your mind is still working. I mean, I was mentally and physically exhausted after the road trip, but I think that really helps because it just limits the amount of input that you need to give to driving and keeps you safe. So I really appreciated that. I did get caught in a couple storms along the way, like a hailstorm coming into Denver. So I did pull over at this one gas station and saw some interesting rural folk, which was cool, and waited for that to come through. And then I drove towards the sunset once the hailstorm has passed over because I just really could not see it all. And I started to hear the hail on the VinFast. And I said, if I get dented, Colton's going to be very mad at me. Now that I'm in Denver, we're going to do some testing. Of course, the range test that we do, charging curve. I want to take it car camping and see how it compares to another EV model or just how it does in general, and drive it around. Get my friends out here in it so they can check out the VinFast that I've been driving around the South and whatever else y'all might be interested in. So let me know. Oh yeah, average efficiency as well. I looked in the VinFast app because it tracks all the trips that you make when you turn the car off and you turn it on again. It marks your location and everything and your state of charge. It said that I was about 3 miles per kilowatt hour, maybe a little bit more efficiency over the past 30 days. No, over the past 7 days. And that's pretty good. They said this is for guesstimation. It's not 100% accurate. So I'm sure I could do some more numbers and figure out what that was exactly, or y'all could by all of this information. So I will put up the numbers again. Feel free to play with them if you want to and ask me for any other information if you think I didn't note everything down. But I noted the state of charge at each stop, estimated miles for VinFast, what the odometer read, and the miles between the stops, the VinFast range accuracy, the time I spent charging, the cost of charging, and the kilowatt hours that were dispensed by the chargers, and then also the price per kilowatt hours. It was a fun trip. It was a long trip. You can road trip a VinFast from Tennessee to Colorado, and I proved it. Thanks for coming along for the ride. We're going to have some more content, of course, coming your way, having the VinFast out in Colorado, so stay tuned. Thank you for supporting me along this road trip. Y'all were so nice. I loved that I could ask you questions and you could do the research for me and tell me the answers. For instance, the energy portfolio of Arkansas, one of you looked those up for me, which is great. Some of you calculated the energy efficiency between stops, the elevation when we were curious about why I lost so much efficiency along the way. I think I was just going too fast with the air conditioning blasting and stuff like that. So I really appreciate the community that's going on here on YouTube. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the support, and also feeling like I have people who are like, yeah, continue on your way. So thank you. Really appreciate that. Feeling grateful for that, and hope to keep bringing you fun stories that you enjoy and in a way that you enjoy them. Stay tuned for another episode of the Out of Spec podcast. Drive safe, stay charged. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.